In the heart of Africa, a young leader has risen to prominence with a voice that defies not only external threats, but also internal decay. This leader, Ibrahim Traoré, is shaking the foundations of power structures that have dominated Africa for centuries. His audacious claim, "I am not afraid to die," isn't just a statement of personal bravery. It is a revolutionary proclamation, a direct challenge to the legacy of fear and intimidation that Western imperialism has imposed on African nations for decades. His words echo across borders, signaling a call for all Africans to wake up, rise, and reclaim their sovereignty. Welcome back. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. Today, we are witnessing the story of a leader who has chosen not to back down in the face of overwhelming odds, a leader who refuses to be bullied by external powers, and one who is not willing to tolerate the internal enemies of progress that have long hindered Africa's potential. For centuries, Western nations have maintained a tight grip on African countries through various means: coups, assassinations, economic pressure, and strategic manipulation. Africa's resources, its wealth, and its strategic importance have made it a prime target for foreign domination. Many African leaders, either out of fear or a desire for personal gain, have capitulated to these pressures, allowing their countries to be pawns in a global chess game that benefits a select few while impoverishing the many. Leaders like Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and Muammar Gaddafi once dared to dream of a liberated Africa, and they paid with their lives. They stood as symbols of resistance, but their resistance was swiftly extinguished. But Traoré's declaration, "I am not afraid to die," is not just a reflection of those past martyrs. It is an evolution of their legacy. He is signaling to both his own people and the world that fear is no longer an effective tool for control. His fearlessness strips away one of the most powerful weapons Western powers have historically used against Africa: the threat of death. This fearless stance is not just a rebellion against external powers, but it is also a direct indictment of Africa's internal enemies, those leaders who have sold out their people for personal enrichment. Traoré's message is clear: the time for cowardice is over. It's a powerful statement, and one that cannot be ignored. He is calling on African leaders to break free from the colonial mindset, to reject the allure of power obtained through betrayal, and to embrace true sovereignty, even if it comes at the ultimate cost. Cowardice, as Traoré sees it, is the fear that has paralyzed many African leaders. It is the unwillingness to stand up to oppressive foreign powers, the fear of losing privileges, or the dread of being ostracized by the international community. This fear has led to the creation of a leadership class that is more concerned with maintaining their own positions than with fighting for the true independence of their nations. For far too long, Africa's leadership has been compromised by those who would rather submit to foreign control than risk the wrath of the West. But Traoré rejects this path. His insistence on eradicating cowardice is a direct call for a new kind of leadership, one that is willing to risk everything for the sake of the continent's future. His fearlessness is contagious, inspiring not just the people of Burkina Faso, but Africans across the continent to rethink what true sovereignty means. Then there is betrayal, the second vice Traoré seeks to eliminate. Betrayal has been the curse of Africa's liberation movements for centuries. From the time of the transatlantic slave trade, when Africans were sold into bondage by their own people, to the modern-day political landscape where leaders often serve foreign interests over their own populations, betrayal has consistently undermined the continent's efforts to unite and grow stronger. Leaders who have betrayed their nations for personal profit have stifled revolutions and stalled progress. Whether through corruption, nepotism, or outright treason, betrayal has allowed foreign powers to maintain their control over African countries, often at the expense of the very people those leaders are supposed to serve. Traoré's call to banish betrayal is not just an indictment of the past, but a challenge to the present. It is a call for integrity, for leaders who will not sell out their countrymen for short-term gain. Traoré's leadership model is one based on loyalty to the people, not to foreign benefactors, and it's one that resonates deeply in a continent that has long been plagued by the self-serving agendas of its political elite. Incompetence, the third vice Traoré seeks to eradicate, is perhaps the most insidious of the three. Incompetence is not just about a lack of skills or knowledge. It's about a deliberate strategy that has been used by foreign powers to keep Africa in a state of dependency. Through foreign aid programs that do little more than create dependency, through educational systems that do not prioritize local knowledge or expertise, and through governance structures that reward compliance over competence, incompetence has been nurtured as a way to keep African nations weak and reliant on foreign intervention. Traoré's vision is for a new Africa, one that values competence and self-sufficiency. He is pushing for a new kind of leadership, one that prioritizes education, innovation, and the development of local economies over reliance on foreign aid. His goal is to create a generation of leaders who are not only capable, but who are committed to building a self-sufficient Africa. This is not just a rejection of the Western model of development, but an embrace of a new African model, one that is built on local talent, resources, and ingenuity. However, as Traoré's bold stance has captured the imagination of many Africans, it has also drawn the ire of Western powers. The West has been quick to label him as a radical, a firebrand, or even a potential dictator. These are familiar accusations, ones that have been hurled at many African leaders who dared to challenge the status quo. Western media has often portrayed African leaders who reject foreign control as dangerous or unhinged, while supporting corrupt regimes that serve their interests. This double standard is a key feature of neocolonialism, the system of control that has replaced direct colonial rule with more subtle forms of domination. But Traoré is undeterred by these accusations. He knows that his stance represents a threat to the established order. For decades, Western powers have used economic sanctions, political manipulation, and military intervention to maintain their influence over Africa. Traoré's refusal to back down in the face of these threats signals a shift toward a more assertive Africa, an Africa that demands respect and equality on the global stage. This defiance has unsettled the West, not just because of what Traoré represents individually, but because of what he represents for the future of Africa. If more African leaders follow his example, the carefully constructed system of Western influence could begin to crumble. Traoré's leadership exposes the hypocrisy of Western governments that preach democracy and human rights while backing dictators and corrupt regimes that serve their interests. His actions reveal the double standards that have long characterized Western policy toward Africa, where stability is often valued over democracy, and access to resources trumps concerns about human rights. Traoré's leadership has not only inspired Africans but has also rekindled the spirit of Pan-Africanism across the continent. His vision of a united sovereign Africa, free from the remnants of colonialism, is one that resonates deeply with the younger generation. Across Africa, there is a growing recognition that the old ways of doing things no longer suffice. Traoré's call for a new kind of leadership, one that is bold, competent, and unyielding in its commitment to the people, is sparking a new wave of optimism and action. As Traoré continues to chart this bold course, it is important to consider the broader geopolitical implications of his leadership. Can his vision for a free and independent Africa survive in a world dominated by powerful global interests? The global arena is indeed a challenging environment for any leader pushing for radical change, especially one advocating for the kind of sovereignty Traoré envisions. Western powers, with their deep-rooted economic and political interests in Africa, are unlikely to relinquish their influence without a fight. But Traoré's vision is not without allies. As the Global South becomes increasingly disillusioned with Western hegemony, a new wave of solidarity is emerging. Countries in Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East, which have also experienced the sting of colonialism and Western interference, are beginning to form alliances based on mutual respect and shared goals. Traoré's stance could catalyze stronger South-South cooperation, creating a united front against Western domination. Moreover, Africa itself is not without power. The continent is rich in resources, young in population, and brimming with potential. Traoré's vision for a united Africa that leverages these strengths is not only feasible but strategically sound. If African nations can rally together, pooling their resources and talents, they can build a formidable bloc that can stand up to any external pressure. The key to this success lies in unity and self-reliance, principles that Traoré champions passionately. The challenges, of course, remain significant. The West has not only economic but also cultural and psychological levers of influence. Overcoming these will require more than just political will. It will require a cultural revolution, a complete rethinking of Africa's place in the world. Traoré's leadership offers a glimpse of what this new Africa could look like: confident, self-sufficient, and unafraid to assert its sovereignty on the global stage. Yet, Traoré's vision must also navigate the complexities of intra-African politics. While many African leaders share his desire for a more independent continent, aligning these diverse interests into a coherent strategy is no small feat. The African Union, regional organizations, and individual nations must come together in a concerted effort to resist external pressures and build internal capacity. This requires not only political unity, but also economic collaboration, cultural exchange, and mutual support. As Traoré continues to rise as a prominent figure on the global stage, his leadership offers hope to a continent that has long been in the shadows of external control. His call for a new kind of African leadership, one that is not afraid to challenge the status quo and push for real, lasting change, resonates deeply with a generation ready to embrace a new era of independence and sovereignty. The question now is not just whether Traoré's vision will survive, but whether it will thrive. If the continent can rally behind leaders like Traoré, who are unafraid to challenge both external powers and internal enemies, then Africa's long struggle for true independence may finally be within reach. The road ahead is filled with obstacles, but with courage, unity, and determination, Africa can and will rise. The lion has awakened, and it will not be silenced. Africa's time is now.